Yeah, so this happened yesterday when my mother decided she wanted to eat out. So we go out to a random restaurant and eat. Her twin sister happened to be in the area, so she was invited to join us. So maybe 5 minutes later, she arrives and they just start talking about what sisters usually talk about. And I'm just scrolling Reddit until this entitled Karen walks up to us and asks, "Excuse me, do you happen to be gay?" All three of us look up at her like they are very obviously twins. After what seems like an hour, my mom goes, no, we are twee. But before she can finish her sentence, the Karen begins to lecture them. Do you know God created man and women to procreate, and female is just wrong. At this point the other restaurant goers are now realizing how homophobic she is being and are about to intervene, until they look at a pair of twins as she is going about this rant. Everyone is slowly losing all their brain cells. Then she stands up and yells to all the other restaurant goers, "Hey people, these homosexuals are making me super uncomfortable. Who thinks they should go?" Then this guy goes to her table and says, "I don't know if you know, but that's extremely rude and homophobic. If you have nothing good to say, don't say it. Also, I think it's very obvious that they are twin sisters." Then she snaps back and goes, "Well no, they are obviously homosexuals, and that's not okay." She then looks at them again and realizes her mistake, and then she sits down. But before she goes quiet she says, "At least they aren't homosexual." We think this is over, but then the manager comes and kicks her out. She surprisingly leaves without picking a fight. Then the manager goes, "If you're gonna be homophobic, at least criticize an actual homosexual couple." That's it. I have officially lost all my brain cells. Sorry this was so abbreviated, but I did it, so save your brain cells from all dying. TL. Doctor. Karen yells at my mother and her obviously twin sister and makes a whole scene, then gets kicked out of the restaurant. I left my hometown and moved as far away as I could from my violently and emotionally abusive mother. I found a good job, made friends, got married. Then my mother became seriously ill. It was clear that she would probably not live for more than 10 years. She, for almost the first time ever, actually picked up the telephone and called me. She told me I would need to come home as she needed someone to look after her. I pointed out I was married and had a job and a mortgage, but she just kept insisting I return to live with her. I reminded her that I was married and wasn't going to get a divorce, and she told me she would consider letting my husband visit me in her house. In the end, I had to put the phone down on her. Imagine this, you have insomnia, severe insomnia, you're not on medication yet because apparently you have to try and kill yourself first before getting a prescription, but it's pretty bad. From last month up until now you've only slept 2 hours a night, 2,5 on a lucky night, and on bad nights 0. Last week Mother Nature decided to drop a heatwave on your country. You don't have an AC, and you sleep on the 3rd floor in a little bedroom where it can easily be 45-50 degrees Celsius during the day. In the night it's 30 degrees, which is still desert temperature and unbearable. You decide to sleep in the living room with all windows open, but despite your body wanting to sleep so bad, your brain can't. 1 day goes by, 2 days go by, 30 days later you find yourself exhausted, on the brink of a mental breakdown, ready to die, waiting for psychosis to take you over. I went to sleep 1 hour ago for the first time in a month. My mind and body decided not to fight each other. Normally I go to sleep at 5 and wake up at 7. It was 11:30 p.m. like an hour ago, and finally after more than a month my mind and body decided to cooperate with each other, and I slowly fell asleep on the couch. I felt so ducking relieved after not even 30 ducking minutes. My dog ass mom woke me up to do one chore that I forgot today. I've been crying for over an hour. My only chance for one good night wasted. Like she doesn't even want to understand how much I suffer every time I tell her that I can't sleep. She just says, "Then don't sleep." I don't care. I'm ready to fight her. I want to wait for her to fall asleep so I can punch her in the face. I want to toss water over her head all ducking night so that she has to go to work tomorrow with the same exhaustion I feel. I've been literally crying since, and she's not even bothered. Like the type of exhaustion where sadness turns into anger. That's what I have right now. What am I supposed to do for some rest? Jump off a bridge? Poison myself? I can't deal with this any longer. Isn't this a form of abuse? She woke me up smiling like, "WTF lady, do you realize how close I'm to losing it?" It's also almost 1 AM right now. Who am I supposed to talk to? This just happened a few hours ago, so the details are still pretty fresh in my mind. I had just finished my shift at work and decided to go to Walmart to pick up some personal items. I was tired, cranky, and it was insanely busy, so you can tell what my mood was. As I was looking for my favorite brand, I noticed this woman, M, who was standing awkwardly close to me. I figured she was just looking too, but with a pandemic going on, it was kind of weird for her to be so close anyway. I found my items and left to go to the snack aisle to get me some candy. The entire time of me leaving to the snack aisle, I felt like I was being watched as I'm grabbing my candy. Lo and behold, this woman is again standing so close to me, our arm hairs were pretty much touching. I just could not believe the chances that this woman was getting the exact same things as me at the exact same time. I glanced over to get a look at her, and she was straight up eyeballing me like her eyes were so peeled back. I jumped when I saw her. M, what are you looking at? I'll admit I may have said this a bit rudely, but I was at the end of my rope. M, ugh, no need to get all pissy. I was just looking at your eyelashes. What mascara do you use? M, sorry, I don't use any. M, don't lie to me. Young lady, look, I'm in a rush. Just tell what you use so we can both be on our merry ways. M, I'm in a rush too, and I already said I don't use any also. Don't stand so close to me. If you wanted to know what mascara I use, just ask me instead of gaping at me like some fish. As I was saying this, M just had her mouth open in shock. Yeah, she wasn't even wearing a mask. Like this was the first time someone ever talked to her that way. M raised voice, there is no reason for you to be treating me this way, lying to me and threatening me. M, what? I didn't threaten you. M, practically screaming, yes you did, you are a liar and a danger to these poor people in the store. Herb, and she screaming got the attention of a few customers, and soon an employee came over. E, is everything alright over here? M, no, this crazy bat is screaming at me. M, she threatened to kill me. M, no I did not, you are insane. The employee, clearly overwhelmed, told us to come with him and had another employee call the police. Two officers came, took M aside to get her side of the story. When it was my turn, I just told them that the woman followed me halfway across the store to ask me if I wore mascara, and when I told her I didn't, she started screaming. The officers told me that M said I followed her through the store and then tried to steal some of the stuff out of her cart and then threatened to kill her. I almost fainted because I was so angry and confused. I thought my head was gonna explode. Luckily my stars were aligned that day because there was a man who was in the snack aisle during the fiasco and was able to back me up. The officers then escorted M out of the store, and the entire time she was screaming her head off about how they are letting a killer run free. I was so done with everything that day, I just left my stuff and went home. I can't believe people that nutso actually exist. Never thought I'd have a story to tell, but I recently went to the beach and remembered this gem. Note that this happened quite a while ago, so I might be a bit fuzzy on the details. Sol lol 7y.0 me, my dad, D, stepmom, SM, and brother were at the beach. Since we didn't have swimsuits, we just went to the new beach instead of the family one, so we are just chilling in a secluded spot on a hill playing with sand and stuff when my dad went to the forest to bring us all some berries that were growing near. As he leaves, this woman in her bikini waddles over to us, baby in hands, and looks down on me doing whatever I was doing. She's the entitled mom of the story. M, excuse me. SM, hello, do you need something? M, I just don't want you corrupting my child with your husband's nudity. Her said child was a baby, like a literal baby, probably not even a year old. SM, okay, but you do know you're in a nude beach, right? M, I do, but I came here since there's less people. I especially came to this spot so we didn't see any nudity, and you are ruining our beach experience. As she said this, she scoffed and went back to her spot. We just shrugged it off, and when my dad came back we moved a bit farther away and the show was over. Sorry, it's not as crazy as the other stories, but I wanted to share this edit. So a lot of people thought that a kid in a nude beach is weird. Where I'm from, nude beaches are mostly older people or couples trying to tan, but it isn't uncommon to see families there. No, it isn't traumatizing, and no, it isn't illegal. My mother has long been the topic of discussion between local therapists/psychiatrists etc. for her inability to understand boundaries. A boundary is just an invisible line, evidently created solely to piss this woman off her latest attempted conquest, my house. A few weeks ago we had discussed having my mom and dad coming to visit us. I have a 2-year-old and have been extra cautious during COVID. Because of my baby I take quarantine very seriously and have been really limiting exposure to just about everyone as much as possible, which of course means no visits to family, just to hang out. My mom is of course sick of quarantine and as a grandmother feels 100% entitled to seeing my daughter whenever she wants. We FaceTime, but it's just not the same. We finally caved and agreed to have my mom and dad visit. The day finally arrives, and to my massive shock my uncle had come with them. Mind you, I have no idea what the heck he's been up to during this entire time. I have no clue if he even takes this pandemic seriously, but there he was after making the 2-hour trip to my house. I couldn't just send him away, so I played nice host and tried to bury the growing rage my mother had ignited. Fast forward to this weekend, my mother is once again hell-bent on visiting. Okay, this time I had the audacity to ask my mother who was coming to my house. Something that most people would like to know in advance. I may as well have asked her if she'd like an atomic bomb shoved up her butt. Why? Why do you need to know? Why do you need to know everything? What? Do I need a letter of recommendation to go to your house now? This went on for about 5 minutes. She was too flustered to even formulate full sentences at one point, so I just cut her off and said please don't stop by. Click. She has not spoken to me since. Actually, I think I'm going to tell her that I will in fact need a letter of recommendation from her psychiatrist in order to stop by my house. She refuses to see one and thinks her reactions to things are normal. Lol, yikes. Any suggestions on how to handle a woman with zero concept of boundaries? It's shocking. Like really, you want your child back after 13 years when you abandon her. Nor them tell you the story. And also *I'*M on MOBILE*. So 13 to 14 years ago, there was this mother, M, who couldn't take care of her child, D, and she didn't want her, so she left her on the doorstep on one of my Mexican cousins. This was in Mexico, and they took her, so the family, MC, my cousins, took care of her and made it seem like she was part of her family, which was easy to convince cause they were black, and she was also black, and she and the mom looked a bit similar. D grew up working around the house like feed the chickens, feed the cows, helped her mom cook, and do some chores. Our family grew attached to her, and the kids thought she was family, but the family knew deep down this isn't her daughter. P.S. The family had already a child. 13 years later, one day, she was getting some fruit from the food market. While she was paying, her mom that abandoned her 13 years ago saw her once. She saw her and explained who she was. D broke down crying. And once the family learned what happened, they explained all of it after the truth was told. M said, I know how you feel, but would you want to live with me again? D said no, and said she wanted to live with my cousins. After that day we didn't know what happened to M. Sorry if it sounds bizarre, but that's what my mom told me when we were visiting Mexico. Okay, so a little backstory. So my mom knows this Karen whose name is actually Karen. Yes, I wish I was joking. Anyways, Karen's son wanted my 26-year-old sister's number. Little backstory on Karen's son: he still lives with Karen and is a total Kevin. As you can probably imagine, we live in Yamhill County, Oregon, so entitled Karens aren't that common here. The story starts with Karen asking my stepdad for my sister's number, saying her son was interested. So my stepdad says he will get back to her. After he asked my sister if it's okay, my stepdad didn't have time to ask my sister before she got a call. Yes, as you can probably tell, it was Karen's son. Karen had apparently waited too long, so she went through her recent calls. My sister had called her last year. When my mom told me about this, I couldn't help but laugh, and my mom's word, I know Karen, it's funny, but she is a Karen. Obviously my sister never called him or Karen again. As all Karens, I'm sure she will be back. So I'm a manager at a gas station in a small town. The other day a woman and her son come in, and she buys him a slushie. The son was probably around 4 or 5. They stood around in our lobby for about 10 minutes and the mom comes up to the counter. This is what she said to me. "Hey, sorry to bug you, but my ex-husband is coming to pick up our son for his weekend and we were meeting here. To trade off, I have to be at a lunch in 20 minutes and his dad is running late. I'm sure it won't be a big deal for you to just watch him until his dad gets here." I didn't even know how to respond. I work alone most of the time and our store is busy. There was no way I could even make time to watch the kid, and I definitely didn't feel comfortable being the one to hand him off to someone else. I basically just told her that I was sorry, but that wouldn't be possible. She rolled her eyes at me and again insisted she had to leave to be somewhere. I told her again that I couldn't watch her son and she said, "Well, if I leave him here you'll have to." I calmly told her that if she leaves her son at the gas station I'd be calling my boss to see what I needed to do, as I could not watch him nor be responsible for him. She got mad and cursed me out and then went back to stand with her son. The dad didn't come for about 15 more minutes and as she was leaving she yelled, "Duck you for ruining my plans."